Hey YouTube, so I wanted to make a video. I got the Massey sitting here next to me. I had talked about why, I wanted to make a video basically why I bought this thing instead of getting like a garden tractor with a loader. So today is the 12th of January 2023. And so one of the big reasons I went out and started looking for basically something with a loader is I want to say about a year ago, this has been going on for a couple of years, but about a year ago I got real serious. And one of the things that I'd said that I wanted to get was something with a loader. Every year that goes by, I find it's not as nice to be just running around doing manual labor, constant. So I wanted to cut down some of that. Also, I dug 2 ditches by hand using a tiller, like to loosen up the soil, and then I would load the soil into a wheelbarrow and then go move it into a pile. And then I was taking that pile, and whenever it would rain, I would find out, naturally where my issues were in the yard, and I'd go and fill them. And I was getting kind of tired of digging the ditches by hand and moving all that dirt by hand and taking a couple weeks to do a job to get the drainage right and everything. And I was just like, what the heck? So I decided on basically looking for a garden tractor that would have the loader that I wanted to at least get the work done a little faster. Because we all know we can go huge and get a giant tractor, say, with a big, huge loader, and then you don't have anywhere to store it, or it's sitting in your driveway and you're covering it with tarps all the time. And like, you could buy used, you could buy new, like no matter what you're doing. I really didn't want to go outrageous to get a job done super fast. That's not my reasoning, because I'm going to be faster than a hand shovel and a tiller, let's say. So what I ended up deciding on was several years ago, my grandpa had bought a, it was made by Simplicity. It's called a Legacy XL. Little dog hair or something here. So the Legacy XL, they built a loader, and they had some attachments for it. I don't think it came with a 3-point ever. At least my grandpa's didn't. I welded up a framework for the rear of his so he could put a sprayer and like a little boom system on it. And that's really worked out well for him. I know he doesn't have a loader for his, and his is only 2-wheel drive. Since that one, or maybe he just got the 2-wheel drive version, I can't remember. It's really inconsequential, but I thought, well, I'll get a little 4-wheel drive model. That way I could use it. I'll be able to build some stuff for it, kind of utilizing the platform that's there. And in my shop, I'll just kind of create what I want if I don't buy something. And so I'd gone down, I looked at his Legacy, and I said, well, I'll go up to the dealer and I'll talk to him about it. And so I was searching Craigslist, and I was looking online, and it was hard. It was like Simplicity had some info on the Legacy, but really didn't. It was kind of, if that makes sense, like, I don't know how I ended up finding it. It's kind of a similar situation for, I have a scanner, a document scanner, and I've had this thing for a while. It's made by Canon, big company, and they no longer support it in the U.S. But I was able to find the drivers in Europe. Some European site for Canon had the drivers for this thing. And I don't know if we're just so throwaway anymore, but I was lucky to find the drivers, and now I'm able to use the document scanner. And I take care of my stuff so it lasts a really long time. And so for my Windows version, for some reason, it was not supported in the U.S., but for Europe, they had them. Whatever. things get old and go away. But so simplicity, whenever I went up to a dealer and I told him kind of my predicament, I said, you know, this is what I'm wanting to get. The guys there were like, well, they don't really make them anymore due to COVID. And I'm like, what the heck? Okay, well, I mean, a lot of stuff's gone away thanks to COVID. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? What am I, you know, if this is where I'm wanting to be, how am I going to achieve that, I guess? And they said, well, you're going to have to get a subcompact tractor probably. And I thought, man, that thing's going to be too big for me. And so I really started watching YouTube videos on different guys running these like 1025Rs. I mean, you can look all day long. You're going to find the green tractor like everywhere. And I get it. They have a bigger dealer support network. Kubota is probably the next biggest dealer support network. Or seemingly where the deal, you know, you have access to a dealer for John Deere's pretty well everywhere. You've got access to dealers not as good as John Deere's. And then it seems like that they kind of drop from there. And so anyway, what led me to Massey Ferguson is I really have liked Massey Ferguson for a long time. I've never had one. I've never actually, I don't think I've ever worked on one. Like, I don't think I've ever had a tractor dropped off here. Hey, fix this. And, you know, and then I worked on it. I think I've worked on like some Fords. Ford 8N was probably the most recent one I did. Head gasket and a total wire job on it. Ignition. I think I had that in my shop. That was the most recent thing. But I've worked on John Deere's. I worked on a 52 John Deere 420. Worked on that for many years. We actually had one. It was our workhorse where I worked. It had a IH Utility 300, which was a Frankenstein beast, to be quite honest with you. It was like 3 tractors put together into one to get the best of 3 units. And that was kind of a combo effort. Another mechanic had kind of done. And then as he retired out, I inherited its issues and worked those bugs out. So with that being said, I've had tractors and stuff, but I didn't want to go big. So I'd found some used tractors, but my issue with them was most of them did not have a loader. And if they did, they didn't have the belly mower. And I really wanted this to replace my lawnmower. I have a riding lawnmower. Currently, the one I have is made by Husqvarna. I'll use, you know, used stuff. I'll fix it up, use it, and then sell them. And so the current one I have is a Husky. Done a great job. But that was the primary use. And so my grandpa actually, in a lot of discussion with him, he was like, the first thing you need to think of is the mower deck. And then build off of that. And so for uses, that's what I want to do. Now, I also, as a side thing, I help folks out. Like, I'll mow for some folks around here. They're older folks in their 70s. I'll mow their lawns. And so that helps me to get the things done quicker. A couple of them, they only want me to mow like a very small section. And I mean, it's small for me. I was mowing at 46 inch. Now I'm going to be mowing at 60. I mean, it takes me minutes to mow that. That's not even a big deal. So that they could still push mow and get the exercise for their heart or, you know, whatever they're trying to achieve. But on hot days, if they only got to mow in the morning, that's great for them. They still get their exercise, but they're not out there in this pressing heat that I don't care about. I mean, I'll mow in the heat. That's fine, but I'm a lot younger. So I wanted to still be able to do that. So I had to meet these criteria. Now, before I go any further down this road, I want to say my property is only like 110 feet by 110 feet. I've got a 1,500 square house on it, roughly, in a garage that's 24 by 30. And then I got a few things on it. You know, I mean, we all have that little shed that collects whatever crap we don't want in our shop. And so that's all the space. And then, of course, they got a driveway. I mean, so your 110 feet starts getting ate up. You're not really mowing a whole bunch of stuff. So, but I wanted to be able to take care of my driveway. And I wanted to be able to do yard work help level my yard some more or move dirt around, do things. And so with that all being said, I, through all the research, and there's videos out there of folks comparing these different tractors. I'd kind of started looking at John Deere's because there's so much on the 1025R. I also looked at Kubota's, and I was starting to kind of look at Massey's. I didn't know that Massey had the small guys until I'd seen a video made by Redneck Ed on YouTube. I did reach out to Redneck Ed. I haven't heard anything back. So I hope it's okay that I mention him. I'm going to try tagging his YouTube in my thing, because I guess I can do that in the description. Because he has some cool videos about the Massey. He's got a 1723E. Again, mine is the 1725M. And he does some good, I feel like, information points for people that want to know. I think he's got more property than I got. I think he's got a couple acres or something, I'm assuming. That was some stuff I was wanting to reach out to him about so I could make sure I'm accurately kind of comparing. Because I know that there's people like me out there that have a need that they're trying to achieve, and they're just not real sure how to get there. And I felt like that some of these guys, they're so crazy about what they have. Like, you know, you have to have so much room to have this tractor. You got to have so much needs and all this. And that's not really necessarily true. You could be a little overpowered. There's nothing wrong with it. Because even, you know, my grandpa had kind of questioned, well, if you get this, it's going to be too heavy for your ground maybe. You know, over time, you're really going to... And so I even looked at that, and like, just to step off onto that horse for a minute, the X700 whatever series that John Deere has as a riding mower, which I thought would have front end loaders and stuff like that. It doesn't. They're almost the same weight. It's like within 100, 200, 300 pounds of having this thing. And so whenever I go to mow, you know, I'm going to take off the front end loader. I've got a plan for that. I plan on showing you guys all that stuff, but I'm going to take off the front end loader. This thing's going to have a 60-inch mower deck on it, and it's going to be our lawnmower. I mean, I'm going to have a diesel lawnmower now instead of a gas job. I'll have a 3-point hitch. I can run category 1 3-point implements on it. Of course, there is some versatility there. You don't want to overpower this guy, but you don't want to underpower him. I mean, it'd be better to underpower him, I guess, with things that you're pulling around. But, I mean, you wouldn't use like a 3-foot blade, you know. I mean, you might as well go to a 5-foot blade on this thing and cover your track. My buddy has got some property. I think he's got like 3 to 5 acres. He's talked to me about if we get a tiller for this thing, would it do it? And I said, get me a 4-foot tiller, bud, and this thing is going to run it. I mean, it's not, you know... So I've got some versatility, and that's what I wanted, because whenever you look at a garden tractor and you go to put a loader on it, you're tied to the implements that company made for that thing, or that maybe a side company builds now for those garden tractors. I was looking at 1960s, 1970s garden tractors. They used to call them workhorses, and those are really cool and all, but all these open pulleys and stuff, I mean, I like all that. But I've got some kids. I didn't really want anyone potentially getting hurt around that stuff. And you need to be careful with what you're doing and everything. But I also didn't want to get something I was just going to have to stick a bunch of money in. And the price that they're worth versus what people are asking for that stuff. And they're pretty staunch on that, because I made some calls. I tried to track some stuff down before I resulted in this. It's just too much. And I don't know if that's the COVID market now. I don't really understand what's going on with all that, but it's not worth that to me. It wasn't. So I didn't get into that stuff. So I got this thing, and some of the work and some of the videos I'm going to put out on this, the things I built to make it versatile for things that I want to do with it, for things I feel like normal homeowners would do. if they have the things around that they kind of had the need. And so I'm making it kind of my Swiss Army knife, so to speak, and using it for that. And the way that I came to settle on the Massey Ferguson was because of this. I took a voyage out and I had started looking at a Kubota 1880, the BX 1880. And the PTO horse was real low. The horsepower of the engine was really low. I'd seen where a lot of guys were saying that the front end loader was the same front end loader for all the models. But it just didn't have like the lift capacity that these other guys did, like the 1025R, the Massey. The Kubotas seemed to like have a really low loader capacity. And whenever I looked at the loaders and the way that they were built, I said to myself, I think that that's why. Is because they number one, they use a single cylinder, which may or may not really be the problem, but their pick points and the angles that they run everything, including the loader arms, they've got like a sweeping arch design that really puts it out forward from the looks of things. And I thought, man, I don't see it. And then some videos started popping up I was watching of guys comparing, and it was significant difference, sadly. And I said, well, I didn't want that. You know, I don't know. And I really like the 4-cylinder front end loader where you have 4 hydraulic cylinders. For some reason to me, it just feels like it's more balanced out whenever you start picking things up and moving things. The forces are pulling, you know, right around themselves. So for instance, as you can see here, you know, this cylinder here is grabbing here. This other one up here is grabbing up at the top. They're all on the one arm. And so I felt like that was important to me than having a single cylinder up front curling the bucket. And just some of that stuff. And the price for a Kubota was not too far off from a John Deere where I'm at. And the John Deeres were like $5,000 to $8,000 more expensive than what I was able to get this one for with the same exact stuff. And so it was really kind of, to me, a no-brainer. Now, I did look at New Holland as well, so I'll throw that in there as one of the big guys. And Tractor Time with Tim had a really good video that I watched that compared, and he talked about all the brands and which ones he would suggest and stuff. And I'm going to be real straight here. I don't care what tractor anybody buys. That's not, to me, that's not an issue. You have to look at your dealer support network. You need to look at how you can get parts for them, if you can or cannot work on them yourself. Just things like that. And I know that I could work on a lot of this stuff myself. I've split tractors. I've rebuilt hydraulic pumps, like all sorts of things I've done in my years. But I wanted something that I felt like I would be taken care of decently on. And that's what I found with the Massey, you know, for me, for where I'm at. The John Deeres were, like I said, I mean, we've got a pretty good dealer network here. I'm sure most places do. But for the price, I mean, like I said, I think to be honest with you, mine for the same exact thing was like $5,800 more. And they had a used one, had 140 hours on it, which was, I mean, fine too. Because these engines would go like 10,000 hours and all this, and it's really wild. But they wanted just over what I paid for this brand new for the same stuff. I think that one had a greater blade and I got a box blade. Mine's all brand new. Everything I have is new. So I was really kind of, and then they didn't have financing for that because it was used. And I think it was like 4 years old. So I was really kind of just taken aback by that. So that's how I ended up with the Massey Ferguson 1725M. It started on a voyage to get a garden tractor with a loader. Those really are not available anymore. I didn't get the 1723E because I wanted that extra horsepower for and I plan on it. I get a tiller for this thing. I just wanted to have that power there. I'm sure it's there on the 23E as well. But that's where I wanted it. And like I said, I ended up with staying away from Kubota because of that loader thing. Just kind of shied me away. I didn't want to get, and they do sell like the smallest of everyone. That 1880 is literally the smallest you could get. But I also wanted to stay in a tire size that was easy to get, kind of, you know, like there's a little more of generality in that size. I think the 1880 runs smaller tires and everything. I wanted to stay in a size I could get stuff for easily. So if you're looking at a garden tractor and you're wanting to get a loader and stuff like that, and you're faced with the same situation I am, you can't find what you need necessarily, and you end up in the subcompact market, look at them and look closely. The Massey runs a little better hydraulic pressure. From what I've seen, the numbers I was looking at, they are a little hard to get on and find. I think Redneck Ed does have a video that I had watched and seen, and he compares them, I believe, on a spreadsheet. I know I've seen other guys do this too, so that information's out there. But I will tell you that the Massey has done a great job for everything I've needed. And if that is an option for you, I really highly suggest checking it out. Hopefully this video and this kind of discussion kind of helps, you know, somebody make a decision, or at least inform as to why somebody with a small property would look into buying a tractor like this. I've used it for many things. I plan on making some more videos on a lot of these different things and sharing that adventure with you, along with several other things I get myself into, because I do a lot of side work and things like that. This is the second video that I've made, and so hopefully I'll get better. And anyway, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.